This is Draymond Green talking about Black History Month. I guess you can see it here. Draymond Green says he wants to get rid of Black History Month and says it should be celebrated all year round. Now let's start there. That's a very loaded statement. You're saying two different things that could be perceived as conflicting, but we'll let him say it and then we'll take it from there.
Is what I do want to go back to is Black History Month. This is actually the first time you've seen me in a Black History Month shirt, all Black History Month. And it's very intentional. And I really just threw this shirt on because I didn't have another shirt to throw on. But Black History Month, at some point, can we get rid of it?
Okay, let's stop there. At some point, can we get rid of it? Now, if we just take that piece right there, that's problematic as hell, right? Like, I don't need to break down how problematic that is, right? Like, right there, that's a problem. But we'll let him cook. He's revving up to get a takeoff, so now we'll let him spit the rest of it.
Like, at some point? Why we got to keep getting the shortest month to celebrate our history?
Okay, why do we have to have the shortest month? All right, now that is a trope that's been talked about and lobbied around as a thing to say for a very long time. Damn near my whole lifetime, I've heard that talking point. Here's the problem when you're not educated, and here's the problem when you're giving too many people microphones and allowing them to just say whatever, and we're assuming and giving them credibility just because of their social status. Black History Month was started by a black man, Carter G. Woodson. It was started as a week, Negro History Week. Okay, I'll come off this. I'll come off this for this. So it was started Negro History Week, Carter G. Woodson. It was celebrated. It was a thing that was, it built momentum as the years went on. On college campuses during the Civil Rights era, it then began to get momentum in terms of, well, we need more than a week. So we're going to do it all month. So not only was Black History Week established by a black man in February, it was then expanded to a month on colleges and universities by black students during the Civil Rights era. So this narrative of, well, why did they only give us a month, the shortest month of the year, 28 or 29 on the leap year in terms of February, that's not how that went. It's not like the overseers came down and said, we'll give you a month, but we're going to give you the shortest month. Like, I know how sinister that sounds. I know that how that fits a narrative of them against us. I understand it. But when you don't know the history and you're going to crack a mic and act like you're going to spit that reel in front of all these cameras and get the clicks and the retweets, and you don't know the actual origin of Black History Month, this is the problem with new media. That's not how Black History Month was organized. That's not how it was set up. It was organized by a black man initially to be a week. It grew to be a month because of support from black students on colleges and universities during the Civil Rights era. And then it was, I guess you could say it was ordained, or it was officially, what is the term? It was co-signed. I'll use a hood term. It was co-signed by the president at the time, Gerald Ford, in 1976. Okay? Know the history. They just co-signed it. Now, if you want to play the narrative of, well, they should have moved it from February to another month, that's another story. It's another story for another day, and doesn't even really matter, because at that point you had nothing. It was officially, instituted as a real thing and observed by the president and recognized by the president in 1976. Said, oh, okay, y'all want a month? And y'all already celebrating it? Well, let's make it a whole thing for the entire nation to understand that this is now Black History Month. That was not something that was done with sinister intentions. Know your history before you crack a mic. But I digress.
You got governors want to take our history out of schools.
Now, that's a fact. Now, he's talking about DeSantis. This is not a political show, stream, pod, whatever, but we know who he's talking about there, okay?
And I'm not going to be the fool to go say, yeah, we get celebrated for 28 days. So at some point, I'd like to get rid of it.
So if you're going to use that point, I wish he would have just said, yo, I think the whole CRT argument in the woke bill that is happening down in Florida is a travesty of justice. Fine. We good. We on the same page. You're being celebrated today. But instead, because you thought you knew or you just assumed the history of something you didn't know about, now you're being aired out. Instead of being celebrated for saying the right thing. And he's still being celebrated, but not en masse, because people that know, like myself, know, well, that's not really the history of Black History Month. So to say, let's get rid of it because they gave it to us and they made sure to give it to us on the month with the shortest days, that's not how that went. So half of your point, the initial part of your point, is already thrown out the window because it's not true. It's categorically not true. So the second half of your point, which is an obvious one, but because you're an athlete, you're using your platform, you get to amplify a simple message. Bron is the king of that, by the way. By the way, has he still finished? Is he still reading the Malcolm X book? Anyway, but he's saying the obvious right thing to say out loud. You don't like CRT. You don't like the woke bill. It's problematic what's happening in certain parts of the country. That's an easy win. That's an easy win to get praise. But when you started off with a lie, when you started off with being unclear of the history, it kind of discredits everything else you have to say after that.
It's, we're making all these changes in the world. Can't talk about these people, can't talk about those people, can't say this, can't say that.
Be careful. Be careful. Like, again, now he's crossing his bases. He said the obvious thing out loud that's going to get easy praise. Now he's tiptoeing into waters that is a different angle in a whole different other audience. So he's trying to be all inclusive in terms of, I want all the groups, all the different factions, all the different, assemblies of people that have varying degrees of competence in terms of what should be morally and ethically correct. He's trying to cross streams here. He's trying to tiptoe that line. I don't know how good of a job he's doing, but let's continue.
At some point, it's time to get rid of Black History Month. Not get rid of Black history, like they're trying to do. But Black History Month? Nah, teach my history from January 1st to December 31st, and then do it again. And then again. And then again. And then again.
Right, so that last part is the cleanup to clarify what he really wanted to say. Again, if he would have just said that, instead of starting with the incorrect part, which is continuing the old trope of, well, they, i.e. white people, gave us 28 days for Black History Month. That's not how that worked. That's not how that worked. Habitual nut hitter, you caused your team to trick off a 3-1 lead in the finals. You finally was able to redeem yourself in the finals last year, even though, it took a superhuman effort from Steph and Andrew Wiggins to get you your fourth ring. You got a podcast, you're doing numbers, and maybe the numbers aren't hitting as good as they used to. Maybe because you haven't jumped out the window to say a thing to make sure people want to check out your pod. Maybe this is just, a way to get the numbers up. Maybe now people will, spin the block on the Draymond pod. I don't know. Let me know. Are you gonna now check out the Draymond pod because he said this? Well, was this enough of a thing for you to want to spin the block? I mean, to me it ain't, but to each his own. So Draymond, Black History Month. Hopefully that audio came through. I'm pretty sure it did, but I just want to make sure that went through. But I think not understanding the history kind of discredits everything else that he was able to say. So I will let that lie right there. We will handle that at another time. I'm sure he'll go on his pod, and I hope somebody will tell him that's not how Black History Month was done. But, if not, Google is your friend. It's always there for you. Sometimes before you jump out the window and think you're on a roll, giving off a hot take, maybe just Google it real quick, just to make sure.